Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, this is a weekly podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing during the week, and I also put up regular tutorials. And it is Wednesday the 1st of May, and I'm recording here in Sydney, Australia. Right, so I normally start with my finished objects, but I don't have any finished objects this week. So I'm going to start with Friend from the Vault, which I'm wearing, and then I'll get into my works in progress. So this Friend from the Vault is the Igloo dress by Heidi Kirrmaier, and I knit it out of Cascade Eco Alpaca, and that is actually one of the recommended yarns. You could either use Barocco Ultra Alpaca, and then there was maybe Rowan Lima, and Cascade Eco Alpaca. So it's 100% alpaca, this yarn. I used a 4mm needle and I got gauge, which is 20 stitches over 4 inches, and I knit the 31-inch size, which for me is 1 inch of negative ease. Used quite a lot of yarn. So it's a dress that's got, I'll show you, it's got these garter, it's pilling a little bit. I made this quite some time ago. Actually, let me just have a quick look. When did I make it? I made it in 2011 actually, so it's probably not surprising that it's pilled a little bit because it's really warm though. But it's not crazy hot, like, and because of the way that I've knit it, and there's a bit of room at the sleeves, I can actually pull them up and have them sitting at my elbow if I need to. It's got a sort of like this cow neck with which is also in garter. And I knit that, because it's 100% alpaca, it's quite drapey. I've made another version of this with 100% wool, Cascade 220, and like a chocolatey brown color. I might show that another time. And that collar is much more sort of defined, I guess, because it's 100% wool, and it sits quite vertical, whereas this one's a little bit, you know, drapey and loosey-goosey, but I still really like it. I'll put a picture of Heidi's version, you know, like the pattern version up here, and I'll stand back and show you. It's also got pockets. So it's got pockets that are in garter stitch, and so they sort of drape a little bit. And I'll stand back a little bit further. It's getting a little bit dark here, so you can see it's to about just above my knees. So I always wear it with tights and boots. And yeah, it's lovely and cozy and warm. And the pockets, I always find with knit pockets, like, they work, but they're not like, I'd put a key in them, but I wouldn't put my phone in them. They'd be like, you know, they're not structured enough to hold a phone, except for maybe like 30 seconds while you open a door or something. But other than that, yeah, I would just put a key or something in them. Let me see, what else did I want to say about it? It's really, like, I love it. It's in terms of, it's comfortable, it's cozy, it's warm, and it's really, the weather's really turned here now. It's gotten really cool. So yeah, really nice. I used 6.5 skeins, which is 1,300 meters, so quite a bit of knitting, but knitting it on a 4mm needle and 20 stitch gauge, it didn't actually take me very long. Let me see, how long did it, and I was really enjoying knitting it too, actually. Let me see, how long did it take me? July to August, 5 weeks. So I probably was motoring along on this. I definitely really enjoyed making it. What have I written? I love this pattern and this yarn. So great pattern, and yeah, not much more to say about it except I really like it. There were a couple of different ways of doing the pockets, and I think I did one where I was able to do it as I went. So yes, and obviously I've made it twice. So it's still a fair bit of knitting, but I think I would make it again. Obviously I haven't made one in a while. I think I made the chocolate brown one pretty soon after, and I guess to some extent I've got a grey one, I've got a brown one, unless I was going to make like I don't know, I couldn't really see myself making a brightly coloured one. Yeah, but certainly in grey and brown, it's a really good wardrobe staple and great for winter because it's so comfortable. Right, so I'm going to get changed and then I'll get into my works in progress. So I haven't cast on anything new this week, but I have made a lot of progress on my current whips, and what I've got on right now as a work in progress is the Storm Sweater by Petite Knit, and I'm using Gynt in the colourway Ash Melange, and I'm knitting the extra small, which is a 42.5 inch bust, and I'm getting gauge, which is 20 stitches over 4 inches. So this is 10 inches of positive ease for me. I don't think I'd finished the body when I showed it last week, so I have finished the body. The body's on a 4mm needle and the ribbing is on a 3.5, which I used for the neck, and I also used for the hem, but you'll see when I stand up, it's really pulled it in a lot and it's bubbling quite a bit. That might be to do with the way I blocked it. I'll show you. See here, it's got this like little pooch sort of bit over the, so I think what I have to do, because I don't want to go back and change the ribbing to a larger needle. Like this is hugely oversized and it's really, really lovely. Like I'm really happy with it. But, and I don't really want to mess with doing all the ribbing again. I did do a tubular, maybe I already did show this, a tubular bind off. I can't remember, maybe I did. Yeah, actually no, maybe I just hadn't blocked it. Yes, maybe I'd finished it, but I hadn't blocked it. Anyway, that's what's happened after blocking it. So I think what I need to do, I'm gonna try and block it like sideways, maybe just like steam block it to sort of settle that down a little bit. Yeah, so I'm gonna try that. That will be my first try, is to put it sort of sideways, you know, like this, and then steam block that pooch out a little bit. So I picked up the stitches for the sleeves and I'm meant to have 88 stitches. And I think I did the first couple of bits of garter. And then when I went to start doing the patterning, I realized I was off, I only had 86 stitches. And I was like, I mean, it's only a few rows, but I was also like, it's 2 stitches, it's no big deal. So I just increased a couple of stitches, you know, on that first row of the patterning and then just kept going. And I've actually just started the decreases now. So you can see that's a really large sleeve, which is what you'd want as well. The whole sweater's oversized. And although there are some patterns like the, you know, Joji Locatelli's Boxy and Relax, they're very oversized, but they have really fitted sleeves, whereas this is oversized everywhere, which is, I'm really happy about because I don't really have that many sweaters. The Ingalls sweater's like that for me, but I don't have many others that are really like fully oversized like this. I did mention I have 5 balls left for the sleeves, which is 250 grams. And I've knit 25 rows and I just checked the pattern and I've got more than half a ball left. So I think I've used maybe about 20 grams and that is maybe not even, I think I've used 18 grams of this ball. And I checked the pattern, there's 125 rows and then you start the ribbing. So 125 rows, 5 times, that would be 5 times 18, which is 90 grams, and then the ribbing. So that would be 180 grams, that would leave me 70 grams for the ribbing, you know, like total, because I have 250 grams. I remember mentioning last week that I was a bit nervous about having enough yarn, but just being able to measure that after 25 rows and go, okay, I'm a fifth of the way down this sleeve, then the ribbing, and I'm well under a fifth of the yarn that I have left, so I should be fine. So I feel calm now, right? I would have probably worried about that throughout the whole sleeve. Now I'm like, I'll just knit it as, you know, as large as I want. It doesn't taper a lot, so this is 80, it was 88 stitches, I'm down to 84 now. I think it gets down to 68, and then you start with the, I guess you must, I haven't read much past that, but in terms of this part of it, I only get down to 68, which is still very oversized. But yes, I'm excited about having this in my wardrobe. There's not a lot of knitting to go, and like, you know, at this gauge, 20 stitches over 4 inches, that's pretty, compared to some of the other stuff that I'm knitting, this shouldn't take too long. I'd love to say I'd finish this by next week, but in fact, I may as well mention it now. I'm thinking of taking next week off recording. I just need to, because Wednesday is my day off work, I need to actually go in that day and just really burn through my experienced teacher and just spend the whole day on it. So I think I'll take next week off recording, which means if I'm recording in 2 weeks, I really hope to have this. I hope to have a finished object in 2 weeks. So yep, that's my first work in progress, the Storm sweater. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to mention. It has a double fold collar, which I like. And really the only thing, and look, this isn't, it does look a little bit crazy, this here. I reckon I'll be able to do something. Either I'll steam block it out or I'll wet block the whole thing and I'll pin the ribbing out, and just, because there's obviously a lot of stretch. There's a lot of stretch in that ribbing. So I can pin that out, which you normally wouldn't want to do, but I would rather that than have this weird little thing happening here. Obviously that's due to the gauge difference, right? The gauge here is much larger than here, but that's stretchy. I don't know, but I'll start with trying to steam block it just sideways, and we'll see how we go. I'll show you in 2 weeks' time and which way ended up working. Right, so I'm on to my next work in progress, which is the, what is it? It's Snow Wonder by Heidi Kirrmaier. So Igloo is by Heidi Kirrmaier. Snow Wonder is also by Heidi Kirrmaier. I'll try it on, but I think I'm gonna have to rip back. So I've actually knit a whole ball, one complete ball, and I only had 3 balls, but then, I was starting to get a bit worried. So I'm knitting the extra small, and I was trying to decide, there's an extra small, an extra small, and then a small 1, small 2, etc. And extra small and small 1 were the same roughly up until about splitting off for the sleeves around that point. Small 1, like the slightly larger size, has I think it's maybe 37 inches, whereas extra small is 34 inches. And I'm getting gauge, well, at least I'm getting stitch gauge, which is 19 stitches over 4 inches. I'm using Rerum Natura Gilliat in the colorway Ciel. And I was really getting a little bit worried about running out of yarn, so I sort of went for the extra small because I had this left over from the Manhattan hat, and it's probably a different dye lot, but I reckon it would be fine for the ribbing. But I couldn't find it, and then I was like, oh, I don't know where it is. I did find it, obviously, but yeah. So I think the small 1 casts on 4 stitches under the arms. The other thing that I'm not quite getting gauge on is the row gauge is meant to be 28 rows, and I'm getting 30. Where you might guess I'm heading is, I think it's not long enough in the arm side, and I think I'm almost positive. You can see how high that is up on my arm, and like I knew this when this is a top-down sweater. I tried it on. I tried it on before I split, and I was sort of holding it together and thinking, seems a bit high here, and extra small casts on no stitches under the arms. I'll be all right. Yeah, it's not. I think it's not. Like, I want it oversized, and yet look how high that is. Like, even in a top, I'd be thinking, oh, that's a little high. And if I was wearing a t-shirt underneath, anyway, you can see I've started the bobbles. So where I'm at with it, it's a very bobbly sweater, Snow Wonder. It's going to have this snowflake design here. Where did I put the, I did a swatch on the bobbles. Heidi suggests one modification. So it's a pretty standard, as far as I'm aware, standard bobble, but she does suggest one modification on the row following a bobble to just before the bobble pick up like a bar and like between the stitch before the bobble and the bobble itself, pick up a bar and like knit it together through the back loop with that stitch before the bobble. And when I was swatching, I was happy with that. And I could have probably gone looking for other methods, but I was like, well, I like this one, it looks good, so I'm sticking with that. So it is her bobble, but with one modification that she suggests. And actually, I'll take it off and I'll show you the bobbles without my face right up at the camera. But I think I'm going to have to, well, I know, I'm going to have to rip back, it's 11 rows, which isn't a lot, but they are 11 very bobble heavy rows, which is it is a real bummer. And I'm sorry that I didn't try it on before now. Yes, I'm going to rip back. Now that I have found this extra ball, I'm definitely going to, I won't do any more raglan increases, right? So like size wise, I think it's fine, but I reckon I need another 4 to 8, 4 to 6, somewhere between 4 and 8, at least 4, no more than 8. Rows before, but without any increases, so it doesn't have to be an even number, anywhere between 4 and 8. Like if it's the gauge I'm getting is 30 rows over 4 inches. I haven't blocked this, by the way, but I don't think it's going to grow that. It's not going to grow enough in blocking, like in length. I really doubt it. I might do the neckline before ripping this out. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not expecting enough growth because I can feel that right under my armpit, and that's not comfortable. And if I had a t-shirt on underneath, anyway, it's not the look I'm going for. I need at least 4 rows. I am bummed about this because it was a lot of, it's fine. I just need to do it. I just need to do it, and then I can stop thinking about it. So yes, it will have a nice 2x2 rib here, and The yarn is really lovely. I'm enjoying working with it. I can't say I enjoy the bobble rows, like especially rows when there's like 7 bobbles in a section. It's kind of annoying, but you know, like I want the design, and it's not that awful. It just takes time, right? So, yep. So, yeah, maybe just to make myself feel better, I'll do the neckline first, and then sort of feel like, oh, that's done, and then I'll steel myself for. But yeah, I just don't see that blocking is going to fix that. I mean, I guess it's worth it. It's worth a try. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear, has anyone used the Gilliat yarn and they found it's grown much in blocking in row gauge? I don't know. But it's not like, it's not a superwash yarn, so it's not like you're like, oh yeah, that grows heaps, or it's not silk or anything. Anyway, that's enough on that. I'm going to take it off though, because I'm feeling it like it's kind of annoying me under the arms. So, I mean, I would not wear it with a sleeveless top. I'd be having a sleeved top underneath, so I wouldn't be feeling this wool underneath my arms. Yeah, anyway, maybe I should try it on with a sleeve top just to do the neck, try it on, maybe block it, because it is a lot to rip back. It's worth trying. Right, so anyway, that's my work in progress number 2. I'm going to take this off, and I might pop this storm sweater back on, because that's it's nicer to wear than this, having that under my arms. Although I will be clanking against the table, so anyway, I'll try not to. Right. Unfortunately, I'm knitting the right sleeve, so I would be clanking against the table. I'm going to change into something else. Right, this is much more comfortable. This is my Ingalls sweater by Caitlin Hunter. It was the first one that I made. And I think I used Sundara Sport, and then a lace weight mohair that I bought from someone online. I can't remember what it was. And then this is Madelinetosh Merino DK. I probably already talked about this before, but just in case you're new here, this is one of my favorite oversized cozy sweaters. It has a dropped hem. Yeah, it's lovely, and it is really cold here. So anyway, that feels much nicer than Snow Wonder right up under my armpits. Okay, so I'm going to get on to my next work in progress, which is cami number 9. And I was so proud of myself. Sat down ready to pick up the stitches for the sleeves, and then I couldn't find my 2mm needles. I have 3 sets of 2mm needles, and obviously used them recently on the neck. I can't find them anywhere. So I was having a really bad day. I was looking for the leftover Gilliat yarn in Ciel for Snow Wonder. I was looking for these needles. I was like, where is everything? And that actually does drive me a little bit batty when I can't find stuff. This is a few days ago. I still haven't found them. So then I found these like double pointed needles that are 2mm, and I used these before I bought those 2mm needles. I used these for the skimmer socks, just for the ribbing, and that was fine for the socks because there's like 130 stitches. But I went to try to pick up the stitches around the armhole, and I realized like I was going to need too many, like it was just going to be too big, and these aren't very long and they were going to fall off the ends. So I had to put it aside. I am going to Skein Sisters on Saturday, so I will pick up another 2mm needle there, because honestly I just can't find it anywhere, and I only have 3. That's not that many. So I'll buy another needle there and use that to pick up around the armhole. So I'm sorry, I should have said this is cami number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I'm knitting it out of cotton merino, knitting for Olive cotton merino in the colorway Bark. And that's it there, although that's blowing out a little bit. Yeah, it's a really nice chocolatey brown, not too dark chocolate, like just a nice mid brown. Yes, so I've decided to pick up around the sleeves, and was so proud of myself for getting started. Where is it? But what I will show you that I decided to do, because I knew I needed to pick up about 140 stitches. And so what I did was, and you have to pick up roughly, you pick up 1 for 1 under the arm, and then 2 for 3 around the, 2 stitches for every 3 rows. That can be just hard to, on such fine yarn and small stitches, it can be hard to tell exactly where. So what I've done is I've counted the rows, and I've put a stitch marker every 18 rows, and 2/3 of 18 is 12. So I know that between every stitch marker, I need to pick up 12 when I get there, when I get the needles. But so I'm all ready to go, and I started, and then I just realized that my stitches were all going to fall off the needles, and I thought, I am not doing all this and having them all fall off, you know, before I even get started. So anyway, I'm ready to go. Once I've been to Skein Sisters on Saturday, I'll pick up that needle and I'll be able to finish doing the armhole. And then once I've done one and I've tried it on and make sure I'm happy with it, then I'll do the other one and continue on down the body. But I did, like when I was counting around and I worked out, I think I meant to pick up 142 stitches, and as I measured around, it was going to be 144. So I thought, okay, that's like, you know, my ratio is looking right. It should be good. I just need to get another needle. So yes, so that will hopefully be done by the time I record. At least one of the sleeves hopefully will be done, and I can show you how that's coming along, because I do want to get this done. I was so tempted once I realized that I couldn't work on it. I was tempted to sort of just put it aside and say, oh, it's kind of hibernating now. I'll have to cast on red poppy, like the poppy tea. But I thought, no, I've got plenty of other things to work on. So I spent a lot of time working on that Snow Wonder, and then now I might have to rip back. Anyway, that's part of knitting. And let me see, I've got 2 more works in progress. One of them is the half and half wrap. So I've got this and a pair of socks. So the half and half wrap is a free pattern by Purl Soho, and I actually made a lot of progress on this this week because I had a staff day on Monday and a lot of presentations to watch. So I did, I knit mostly on this then. So I'm down to 65 grams, and I think I had 102 last week. So I've knit 37 grams this week, quite a lot. So I'll show you. This is knit out, it's free pattern. I'm using Purl Soho Linen Quill in Bird's Egg Blue and Red Poppy. This is definitely more orange than is showing on the camera. It shows as pretty red. It's definitely more orange, but it's still, you know, I would still say it's like, it looks red on the camera, but I reckon in real life, I would call it orange. It's a very reddy orange, but it's definitely orange. So I think it's a bit of a lie to say it's red poppy. It's kind of more orange poppy. Anyway, that's my opinion. But just if you're thinking about buying it and you don't want to be disappointed, it definitely arrived more orange than I was expecting. I still like it though. Yes, so I've just got to hold it up and show you. Let me see. So huge. And this is, I've got about 204 stitches on the needles and 56 still to be consumed. Every ridge you consume 1 more stitch. With the edge stitches, I'll just try and show you them a bit closer. So the way that I'm doing that there is just, so it still looks like a garter edge, but I'm slipping the first stitch knitwise, and what that does is it keeps the garter edge, but it just pushes those two together and makes it a little tidier, which I really like. And I'm just doing the wrap and turn short rows because I quite like how they're in my swatch. I liked how they came out. So, yep, so I'm happy with that, and like I feel like, you know, the end is in sight. I've got less than 100 grams to go, I'm pretty sure. So that should be, it won't be done in 2 weeks' time, but maybe in 4 weeks, I reckon. Will be quite happy to see the end of this one and to cast on some other kind of, I don't know if I'll cast on a shawl for a little while. I might just do a few hats and things because it's getting close to winter, and that's a really nice thing to give people in winter, as like just a nice warm hat, especially teachers to wear on playground duty. So I've done that before, where I've brought in hats to work and just asked people if they would like to take one. So I think I've got enough. I've got quite a stash of hats now. I reckon I'm at that point where I'd like to bring some in. Let me see. And my last work in progress. Let me see. Well, there's actually 2 of them. It's the Skimmer Socks by Sheila Toy Stromberg, and I'm knitting it out of this yarn that's that's some leftovers from my aunt, so I don't actually know what it is. She probably gave me the ball band, but I tend to lose them. So I actually started, this is the first one, and I started a second one just because I was going for a walk and I was a bit worried that this one might have got to a point where I had to pay attention, like I just would have got to a point where I would have to stop knitting or need to pick up I probably wouldn't have, but I don't know. I just felt like that's what last week I was like, oh, I hope I can find the other one. I found the other one. So I am happy at least that I've got both of these and they're on the needles. That's on a 2.25mm needle. They're no show socks. So I'm just working along the bottom on this one. And I think I've just started working on the bottom on this one. Right, so that's it for my works in progress. I'll probably have, I hope I have a new work in progress next time I record in 2 weeks' time. I reckon I will. Right, so moving on to acquisitions. I don't have any acquisitions this week. It's actually only been 6 days since I last recorded, so nothing that I've bought this week. What has caught my eye, I will mention, last week I mentioned the Florence bag and by Petite Knit, and which is so pretty. And a couple of people reminded me to have a look at Fruity Knitting. They had made, I think Andrea, I can't remember whether it was Andrew that was making it, but it was Andrew who did the tutorial on doing the lining and everything. And she said that the Tynn liner, because of the, like that's the recommended yarn, and you hold it like 3 strands together, because it's quite loose, like the plies themselves, let me see if I've got the end of it. I'll grab that end and show you. It's quite a splitty yarn, and then you've got 3, see how it's quite, see how they come apart pretty easily, and then you knit 3 strands together. But she said she was found that when she, normally like it's quite nice when you sew a zipper in, you know, you want it quite close to the fabric, but she said that it was, she sewed it sort of close enough that it was starting to catch on the little plies. So either I don't use the Tynn liner, I use some other yarn, or when I sew the zipper in, I'm mindful to just give it a bit more space than I might have otherwise, which is fine. Yeah, so it's just something to keep in mind if you decide to make this bag. Either watch, and she also does a tutorial on making the lining and sewing it in and everything. And I've done enough sewing that I would be fine with that, but I always love a good tutorial, and it looked like a really good one. So yes, so that's still what has caught my eye, but I thought I'd just give you an update on that in case you're thinking about making one. It doesn't look like a lot of knitting actually. And I think though what I must do, and that's a little on my list of to-dos, is to order the notions, like the zipper and the straps, because they'll take a while, I think, to come from Europe here to Australia. Right, so onto my plans. I do plan to make the poppy tee. Right, so I plan to make the poppy tee, and I reckon I will have this cast on in 2 weeks' time, and I'm going to use Sandnes Garn Sunday and Sandnes Garn Tynn Silk Mohair together in the colour 4008. And sorry if the colours are a little bit weird at the moment, it's starting to get quite dark. I'm recording quite late. The other thing that I'm not sure when I'll start this, it'll depend when Beck's ready, but I'm going to start the Charisma top out of Rerum Patina. And I mentioned last week that the pattern is so brief. It's a 1-pager. It has a stair-step bind off on the shoulders. And it's one of those things that it's like, do this on this side and just repeat in the same fashion on the other side. So it really doesn't hold your hand. So what I thought I'd do is, and if anyone is thinking about making this, because it's a free pattern, I'll definitely be making a lot of my own notes about modifications, and I'll put them up on Ravelry so that people can sort of see if, you know, just there's, and maybe if anything else, I might do a video as well on what I do with the sleeves. Somebody actually mentioned, I can't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but they mentioned about how it might warp a little bit because it's not in stockinette, it's in pattern, because it's an all over lace pattern, that it might sort of warp a little bit. What I might do is do a little swatch on that first before I start making that modification over the whole garment, because this is definitely not easy to rip out. So I'll do a little swatch on short rows instead of a stair-step bind off in this pattern, and make sure I like how it looks before I actually start doing it on the whole thing. Right, so that's it for my plans coming up. Personal stuff. Right, so last week I mentioned that it was a 1-year anniversary since my dad passed, and that was on a Friday, and the whole family came over and we had berries and mix maxes and Pringles and yeah, just all the things that we used to do with my dad, and we played Ticket to Ride and we played 500 and just talked about my dad and shared stories, and it was really lovely. So it was just good to have all of us here together and And you know what we also realised? We were like, we haven't played games, and that was on a Friday, but we hadn't played games on a Friday night. We used to do it always on a Sunday with my dad. We haven't done that as a family probably for a couple of years, because even though my dad died a year ago, a year before that he stopped being able to come over here, and we used to go to the nursing home and take all the games and everything and play there. So but it's been a couple of years since we've been having Sunday afternoon family games, afternoon with the whole family. And so that was on Friday, and we all really enjoyed it so much that we played more games on Sunday afternoon. We played Wingspan on Sunday. Yeah, and it was so nice. So that was just the 5 of us, and yeah, like my kids, even though they're older, they all still live at home. So I've got one son who's still at school and 2 daughters who have finished school, but they still live at home. But they're not always here. They're often out and about flitting around with their friends, which is normal. But yeah, Sunday night, I quite like to be home like before the week starts, and to be able to do that as long as it doesn't run too late. To be able to have games again was really nice. So yep, so that we did that on Friday, and then more games on Sunday. So I'm back at school. I had a full staff day on Monday, which is why I had so much progress on the half and half wrap. But I've got a really busy week coming up. I've got parent teacher tomorrow night. So I start at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and I don't finish until 7 p.m. with parent teacher. So that will be a very long day. And then I'm teaching again Friday, pick up my son from singing. Like it's just, I'm teaching at the yarn shop on Saturday. I'm teaching a fair isle class, which I haven't taught in a while, which I love. I teach that showing people on a beanie, which is just a really, so people have already come with the brim done, and then we just get straight into the colour work. Yeah, so I've got that on Saturday. So just with all of that, and then next Friday there's a big work thing. It's called the Twilight Evening, which we do instead of a fete. So I'll be at school until 8 o'clock next Friday night. So the next couple of weeks are pretty busy for me. So I reckon for me, I'm going to not record next Wednesday, but I will do, what I will do is I'm going to do the short row tutorials. So I'll do one this weekend. I'm going to do one just for adding short rows to a pattern that doesn't already have one. So just like a normal yoked sweater, top down, you do the ribbing and you go straight down, no short rows, how to add short rows to that. So that will be my first one. Then I'll do one after that on how to add short rows to the anchor tee. I've been trying to figure out a way how to do that without breaching copyright. So I think what I'll do is I'll just make up some numbers and just explain. So I've got one where it would be just adding it right at the back for a normal one. That will be next week. The one after that will be anchor tee, where you actually add it in between. Well, how I did it is I added it in between the ribbing wedges on the anchor tee. I'll just put a picture of the anchor tee up here so you can see. If you wouldn't necessarily have wanted short rows all at the back neck, because that would just look visually a bit weird to have. I mean, you can, but you'd really see that ribbing really dropped quite low in the back. So I did that quite differently for the anchor tee. So I'll show you how to just add a little bit between the wedges. What I did was I added 2 rows between each of the wedges. So I got 8 rows that way. And then I'll do a third video the next week on how to add short rows in ribbing. So no regular Wednesday one next week, but 3 tutorials for the next 3 weekends coming. They are coming. I've promised them a while ago, so I want to get onto that. Right, I think that's it. I didn't do any reading this week. It's just been, straight back into work and everything. And yep, so it's getting really dark now, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for another catch-up episode like this in 2 weeks. So thanks, have a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you then. Bye.